All right, here we go. Good morning, everybody. Um, Welcome to another episode of Concept Art Design in VR with me, your host, Seth Rutledge. No, anyway, here we go. I hope things are going well. My internet's been a bit weird this morning, but it seems to be working okay right now. So hopefully you can follow along with me and we're in good shape. So this week, I'm really excited that I'm using Clark Huggins' Reckless deck to come up with my ideas for some environment design. So this is going to be a week of environment designs because I'm a little burned out on hard surfaces. I've been doing a lot of spaceships and stuff for the last while. Um, so the Reckless deck is a card deck with a bunch of different prompts that you can sort of just either randomly pick from, or often what I'll do is kind of have an idea and then sort of look through it and see if I can find other cards that spark my interest, just so that maybe it just gives me a prompt and an idea of where I want to start. And I pulled out 4 today that I thought were cool. We have Grasslands as a biome, which I can live with. I like that. We have Ruin, we have Bone, and we have Encampment. So I'm thinking some kind of a ruin made of bone with an encampment in front of it of some kind. And that's very much going to be in keeping with sort of my incursions project. So awesome, works for me. So that's the state we're going to start with is grasslands with a bone structure ruin of some kind. And then we'll add the encampment kind of at the end, depending on how much time we have. It'll be how detailed the encampment is. It might be a sleeping bag and a fire. You know how it is. But let's start with the ground first. So I don't know if you noticed, I decreased the resolution of my first layer because I just want it to be, I'm just going to make a flat ground space to play with. And we're going with continuous. I'm going to set stroke to scale. We'll leave steady stroke off. And we're just going to go grab a nice flat stamp, or I think of them as brushes. Something that has a little bit of noise to it, but not a lot, which I think is that. Wow, we're very low res. I'm also very zoomed in. We may be a little too zoomed in. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I think I'm a little too zoomed in. Let's shrink it down a little bit. And yeah, actually, I think I'm gonna increase the res, and then I can decrease it later. Okay, there we go. Yeah, getting close. I just want a big, ugly. That might be too big. I'm gonna just, let's see. Try now that I'm bigger, decreasing it. There we go. That's better. Just a ground plane. Something to build on top of. And I'm literally, it feels weird. Like I keep kind of feeling uneasy, like my head's getting chopped off here by this thing because I go inside it. And you see, this is a tech shape that I'm using, so it doesn't have to be anything complicated. But I think once we start warping it around, let's set my alternate tool to move. Go away. And active layer only. Let's go with like an 85 something inner radius. And then we're going to start stretching this. And you can see that like the tech part goes away really fast. And it just becomes sort of pixel noise. And rotate this around. Do the same thing over here. Just going to create a nice big ground plane to work from. And you see, I'm not worried about keeping it like even or any of that kind of stuff because the edges should be beyond my camera, and if they're not, I will adjust them. Yeah, so, okay, there's our ground. Let's quick save. And I think I'm gonna probably decrease the, yeah, we're way too big. So let's decrease our poly count. I don't want 5 million for my ground. It's kind of useless. Let's even decrease it again. Okay, yeah. So that's looking, you see now it gets way more just sort of generically flat too. Let's see where we're at for poly count now. 300,000. That sounds good. Okay, save. So we got a ground, and I'm even going to be fancy today. Let's paint it a nice desaturated greenish yellow. Anyway. So there's our ground. None of this color will last into our final, but it gives us a place to start from. And this is as small as I can get. So we can zoom, whoa, way in here if we feel like it. It doesn't need to be, my head's getting cut off. This feels kind of weird, actually. But it doesn't need to be that big. Let's go to about here. Find us a space we like. And maybe we'll put the structure like on that. We'll call it a hill. So let's go to a new layer. And there's our vertical. So let's rotate so we'll make sure we're roughly vertical. New layer. I'm gonna increase the res probably 3 times, which gives us, that's our bounding box. Fine. Okay, now let's see if we can find, I don't want paint. Go back to clay, single, and custom bones. What did I bring in here? I got some kind of cool, there's a human rib cage. And let's take it back to white. And that's as big as it can get at this res. But that's fine, because now that we're not using symmetry. It's so nice in some senses. Symmetry is awesome, but it makes it really hard for me to makes it really hard for me go to medium to scale things and keep it. There's whee. Okay, hello. Let's shrink down, make it easier to control for right now. Making it big. It won't let me move it now. Oh, because I'm on that probably. Go away. Now let's just move it this way, down, and this way. I actually don't use these controls very often, like I said, because most of the stuff I've been doing has been in with symmetry on, so the adjustments are kind of hard to deal with for that. Okay, so we got a rib cage. Now, let's say they started it as a giant rib cage, but we're gonna make a structure out of it. It doesn't just need to be that. Let's grab, oh, I made these shapes. These were kind of cool. This is literally just a bone that I made a long cylinder out of, or I don't know what you call it, arc, and then made a new shape. So we could use this to kind of make in walls. Let's even go back to continuous because we're on scaling. And fill it in. So from the outside, I don't really feel like it's too high, it's too low res to be bone right now for that, but let's get rid of it. I like the idea though. So this is going to be our ruined structure here, and then we need to fill it in. Let's see if we can just use a. This is one of, okay, this is one of those ones that's not lined up properly. Damn it. That's kind of cool. Need to re-import those brushes. I finally figured out how to set the origin point to 0 on these brushes, but that was after I had done all of these. So these are like, no, it's not too bad. They're their origin point is wrong. Let's... Okay, maybe not that big. There we go. Just filling it in. Just want to make something that feels like a structure. Oh, but that I can shape into bone later, and then probably ruin, because that's what we're going with, right? So this is like some kind of a weird bio-organic magical thing somebody's made. That's looking all right. Stream's going cool. People are there. Cool. Yeah, so we got some cool looking pillars. I keep trying to do it in the wrong spot. And I mean, the temptation to have symmetry on would make that easier, but I don't really want it to feel too symmetrical. I like that it's off a bit. Let's see, where's this one going to go? Oh, reasonably close to where it should be. Single. Like that. Cool. And then flip it around. Like that. No, not. So we can flip it around. I don't have a, this is like, I guess, a right femur. I don't have a left one. But I think if I do that, that'll be fine, because I'm just going to come here and erase that, because it's kind of janky model anyway. Erase that. There we go. So there's like the start of a cool structure. We're thinking humans are about like sort of to this scale. So like one dude's probably that tall. So that's a reasonably big structure. You see how fast this is too, guys. Like I could have this whole thing built in, easy 20 minutes. And then it's just after that playing with stuff. How do I feel about that? I kind of like it. It doesn't necessarily feel super correct. Let's go to single. But I just want to give it some feelings of like that weird kind of Conan bone idea. So if that's our structure to start with, let's just see. That's kind of, I feel like you should just get creative with these things a bit. Let's use a circle so it's not as defined. And go to continuous. And I'm going to kill those two ribs there. And then I'm going to go back and I'll go to this shape again. And I don't want to be on continuous. Single. See how much janky crap there's there. Let's clean it up. You don't need to, because I mean, like concept art, right? I mean, I could paint it out in Photoshop, but if I can take 2 minutes now and fix it, why make my life more difficult in Photoshop later? So there's like an additional thing there. So maybe this was bone, and then literally the outside part of it was skin or something like that, and it's kind of largely rotted off. I say largely because what happens if we do a new layer and try to go place some? Cloth, I don't really have any good cloth that works. These are like stamps, but they weren't really made for brushing, in my opinion. But let's see what happens. Can we just like, am I outside my zone? Oh, I'm way outside my zone. Let's move my zone back over. Now I'm in again. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't work for me. I really just want a simple panel again. The trick with cloth in this sort of tool is that because it needs a thickness, and we don't really have that, but we could try smoothing that down. And you see how my shape is complete bullshit compared to what I'm doing. It has nothing to do with anything. But let's smooth that down. Can I increase the strength? No, strength's at 100, size is at 100. Move it back. Some kind of remains of whatever was the outside part of that structure. And I don't know, I'm just trying stuff. So there's not a right answer for this. And I think a lot of times people are like, well, how do you do it? For all kinds of stuff. And the answer is usually however you want to. There's not a right way to create things most of the time in most tools. But it's very, I know as students, people definitely want that. They want some kind of like, oh, but how do I do it right? I don't know, do it. You know, if it works, it's right. If it doesn't work, you fucked it up. Sorry. Let's try something else. I'm gonna do some, I'm just kind of jumping all over the place. But since it's a ruin, let's kind of fill it around with, ooh, I might use some of those scales too. But let's kind of fill in the space a little bit. So this is just another one of Scout's brushes. I've mentioned her before. I love her stuff. She's super good. And let's give it a different color just so I can see it. And so now the ground is kind of coming around it. And filling in our spaces. So this once was a structure of some kind, and now it's a ruin. So we want to make sure that that feels accurate and authentic to what we're doing. Blending that edge a little bit. Around. I think that edge a little bit. So, like, things have happened. Just so I get a different texture inside too. Let's fill it in. So my ground is not grassy inside the thing when I go to texturize it. It'll be this, whatever color this is, which I haven't decided yet. But that's looking like kind of a neat idea for a bone structure, in my opinion. Yep. And so we got this huge grassland. We kind of come in, and I like this, like almost like a road that leads right along here to that. I think we're going to play with that in a minute. Let's go another new layer. Increase our res once. And pick some plants. Since we're on supposedly a grassland, let's we can go nuts with this and get way high poly way fast. So we need to be a little careful. In fact, let's save. Let's see where we're at now. Actually, I want to even before I see where we're at. This is our brown. I know I don't need this as high poly as I made it. So let's decrease it. And even decrease it again. Yeah, now it's just a glopy mess. Let's decrease the res on this too. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it does not need to be a high poly, so save high poly for when we need it later. This would not hold up, obviously, to like serious modeling, but once we texture it, it won't look too bad. And particularly from a distance, it totally reads like plants, in my opinion. The big bush kind of thing there. Let's do the same here. You see I'm just wiggling it around to try and get the normals to go out so that it goes lots of different places. It's the same as like using a Photoshop custom brush with the rotation tool on. You just twist it around and get some cool stuff out of it. So we got some bushes. And going around really fast. Up and down. Lots of crap. I'm not going to go too far out into here. This is going to be like my other space because I'm thinking our composition is going to be roughly about like that, you know? So there's no need to fill in this mounds and mounds of planes. I'm not making a video game level where it needs to all be walkable or any of that kind of stuff. Just so it's kind of cool. And again, grasslands. And there's nothing underneath I need to really erase. I'm not going too far down. And quick save. And I might even try lowering the poly again on this one. See what it does. Still looks good. That's good. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit blobbier now, but blobby is fine. I just want it to feel like plant life, you know? It's like, again, Photoshop brushes, you look at them up close and they're not actually usually that high fidelity. It's just noise. Just in case I come from a different angle or I see through stuff, I want to have some plants on the backside. Okay, let's go to the new layer. And again, decrease the res on it too. Try just one though. So decrease the res on it as well, not two. Go with some rocks. And we want that flat rock. And again, color, let's just go to straight gray. And make it big. So like there was a road here at some point. Or if not a man-made road, then they used it as a road. Like that. Okay, yeah. So we got kind of a path leading in like that. That's cool. And then just to prove that we're not, you know, gonna unify our stuff a bit, throw some rocks off to the side. Big one there. Yeah, so it doesn't feel contrived to just have rocks on our road. They didn't bring them in here necessarily, but they organized them. Some rocks. It's really helpful to kind of know what places look like. So, you know, if you're interested in environments and you've not done a lot of them yet, I would really say take a lot of photos, man. That'll help you more than anything else, more than learning perspective, more than anything else. Getting your design sense so you know what, like, okay, this is what a grasslands look like. This is what a city at nighttime looks like. All those sorts of things, really important. And you can get that just by taking photos. You can look at photos too, that's true. But I find that taking photos really hones your sense of actually paying attention, whereas just I don't know, Google image searching, reference is awesome for sure, but it's not yours, which I don't care in terms of using. I just don't think you know it as well. All right, so we got that coming along. Maybe it's time to play with an encampment. So we're wandering here. We're merchants. We're coming along, and this is where we're gonna hide out, or not hide out, but like rest for the night. That's a little fucking creepy, and it's not raining right now, so I'm not actually gonna go inside it. But it makes a good kind of, I don't know, waypoint marker for setting up a camp. So let's over time, people say, merchants have been staying here for a while. They've created, there's a ring for a fire pit, and then new layer, and I'm gonna custom grab that, or even just that one, and got a different color so it reads better while I'm thinking about it. There's some dirt for our fire. So that's where our fire pit's going to be. Great. And we've got some dirt around it because over time it's gotten disturbed, so there's not as much grasslands anymore. But there's still going to be some. There's our dirt. And let's see. So we're making the encampment. I could make a tent. But I think I'm going to just go to my cloth and grab that and cheat it the fuck out, man. That. Bring it back down. There we go. Did I make a new layer yet? No. New layer. Okay, so this is going to be literally like sleeping bags. So if that's again, humans are about how tall? That tall. So sleeping bag should be about that size. And I'm going to make it continuous, or single rather. There's a bag there. Bag there. Bag there. So you got 3 people rest, got their stuff there. And another new layer. Decrease the res. And I'm actually going to use the same tool, I think, but continuous. And decrease that a lot. And let's make like some sticks that you might, I don't know, tie your horses to. They've been stuck into the ground. A couple sticks. And we could even make a tent. Let's do that. So I'm going to have, let's see, we don't want to go off of our side too much. So I think most of our visual interest is this way. So let's put our tent like here. Pull. Human size. There. Okay, so those are the poles for our tent. And then let's go to a new layer. Color it. I'm gonna go with a nice blue. Why not? And something flat. That's not flat enough. That'll be flat enough. Let's turn it. So yeah, let's turn it over though. Because what I'm gonna do is that. And then I'm gonna grab the move tool. And I'm gonna stretch it like so. And let's make it 100% erase, just make my life easier. And bring it down. Undo that. Make it less 100% radius. And there. All right. Let's go back to the layer just before, which is our stick layer. And select our stick color again. And select our stick brush again. And like, just since I made it kind of do that before. So there's that. Now it's why it's going out. And if we were looking on the inside, we'll put a stick across. Doesn't come up to the top. Good, still inside. But now you can actually see, yes, there is some kind of a stick structure. It's kind of a bullshit tent, but there you go. There's our bullshit tent. Yeah. Go back down to our layer 11 and that in there. Just kind of make it feel a little tight into the ground. I mean, you can go nuts, right? You can be as high poly on this as you want to. So like it's a tent pole. How much of this any normal human's ever going to notice? Yeah, I don't know. But it's cool. And I got time right now, so. So now we have a fire pit, some sleeping bags, tent, a ruined bone structure, and grasslands. Let's quick save. I'm just going to look and see what my poly count is at because I'm going to use... Oh, we're low. We're only at 4 mil. Man, I'm doing good on this one. All right, well, screw this then. Let's go back to our grass area layer and let's add some more grass. Let's do it with a different brush just to keep it, whatever, but we'll do it on the same layer. So it will look like it'll be textured the same way in my file, but short fur, sure. And color, sample that again. Okay. And turn that over, make it big. Let's add some grass. Or at least something kind of that could be grass. Because we got loads of polys to play with. Cool. And then we'll go to our other tool. Bring some of that back in. Bush. You got to be careful. If you go too much in a row, it tends to make things look like you did that, and you don't always want that. Oh, that one turned out okay. You don't want to look like it's all angling the same way. Some more brush. Let's take it over here. Since we have visual interest here, let's make sure it feels like a consistent level of detail. So having got some of it, we want to not like just make these rocks look like they're sitting on their own, although texturing will help with that. There we go. So we're looking at it from here. Yeah, man, like that's feeling pretty cool. And it goes off the edge. I think this edge might be a bit of a problem for me. So let's just adjust it. Go back up to layer 1. And select and kind of round it a little bit. So it's not quite so like jaggedy. Actually, a good kind of rule of thumb with this stuff is if you just kind of round your edges down a little bit when you're doing an environment like this, it'll feel like the hill goes over the edge, which it kind of does, you know. And then, so yeah, it makes it so you don't need to worry about what the edges do because you're not actually seeing them because they're below your horizon line. I'm just doing that a little bit all around. And yeah, see how much more like, yeah, now that you can put that there and you just put a matte painting behind it and boom, you know, you're in Nebraska with a giant bone shape. I'm really liking that building, actually. It's kind of cool looking. Feels like it's building-y enough to me, but it still looks like a bone shelter. Cool. And what else do we want to do? So we've got our main read is that. Our secondary read. We got our fire pit here, some rocks, some stuff up there, over there. And go back to our rock layer and select our rock color. I think it was just gray, but and I'm gonna add just a few more rock shapes. As big as they will go. Kind of just in here like that. And again, just to kind of make it feel like the world goes on past here, even if you don't really, you don't need to pay attention to it. It's not the important part, but that happens there. Yeah, see that gives it some border edges. You almost, I feel like sometimes, like when you find something like that, your brain just knows that that's, well, the wall, and it kind of psychologically is. So that's looking sweet to me. I really am kind of enjoying this one. Let's save. So obviously I could go nuts here and add a ton more stuff or keep detailing this forever. But this is a concept art sketch, and that's sort of the idea behind it, is that I want it to feel like it's loose, and I don't want to take a lot of time because I want to be able to show a director almost at any point and have them go, yep, no. But one thing I just kind of thought of now that I wouldn't mind doing is let's put another couple bones. These are just skulls, which is dumb. I wish there were. They created some bones with the set, and they're cool, but they didn't give me any bones. They just gave me skulls. So I'll have to use my own. But I just want a couple of, like, that's way too low. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's shrink it down a lot. And find move tool and bring it in like that. Because it's a ruin, I kind of want there to be a couple of bones off into this, like they've fallen off, they're down, just so it's not only bones there in the shape. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm buying it. I'm liking it a lot. Let's save. I think we're going to call this one, guys. Again, I appreciate you watching either on Twitch or on YouTube. Another shout out to Clark for the Reckless Worlds deck, because I never would have thought of making something like this kind of on my own without some kind of a brief. So if you don't have an art director telling you what to do, sometimes it's nice to let the cards decide. It's super cool. I'm going to take this sucker and export it. 7 mil, it's fine. Take it into Keyshot for a quick texture and render, and then I will post it up on Instagram and, LinkedIn and Facebook and all the other stuff. But yeah, I really appreciate your interest. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on YouTube.